So this is splitting back and forth. Let's start off with the communist answer. So left-wing anarchism as well. What it means. Anarchism just means you don't want to have oppressive hierarchies. You can have hierarchy, just not oppressive ones. It does not mean let's just have chaos. So what is Marxism? Let's get a couple things out about what Marxism is before we specifics of religion about what's going on. All of history, right, for Marx is a battle between classes. Classes are just people who have and who have not. And the idea is that over time we'll rise up, and eventually that process will result in the have-nots rising up and taking everything and distributing it all equally, making for a society in which everyone is equal. And again, I think we should tell the story that it's really a mixed bag. The Russian people rose out of feudalism and poverty, and they became one of the greatest nations in the world. Marxism ultimately says that the working class built the world, therefore they should rule it. Now, there's more complicated under the hood intellectual why. What matters for Marx is his theory of history. History is not going in a random direction. For Marx, what's happening here is history is the result of production becoming more and more and more efficient. Marx's idea here is, if we go back all the way back to the beginning, everything was made in one village, and it took forever to make anything. And then it got a little bigger, and then it got a little bigger, and now in the 19th century we've got big factories, and the bigger you make the factories, the easier it is to make more, and what happens to the price? It goes down, right? And the idea here is, as we produce more, the price drops, except for it hits a wall. The price should drop all the way down to nothing. It should drop down to zero, but it doesn't. Why? Capitalism. The people that own the factories want to make money. And so what do? They control the market at some level, manipulate the market in order to make a profit. Do we have the ability to make enough food, water, clothing, housing for everybody? Yes, we do. But we don't. Why? Capitalism. Because we've organized society around generating a profit for the capitalists, not organized society around producing enough for everyone. So production has reached a point in history where we have enough, but we don't distribute it because some small group of people want to make a lot of money. And Marx says the people that are going to stop that process are going to be the people working in those factories, the working class, the proletariat. The bourgeoisie own the factories, the proletariat work in them, the proletariat are going to rise up, take the means of production, then retool all of society so that we make shirts, not for the interest of the capitalists, but for the interest of the population. That's why it's called socialism. It's for all of society, not for the capitalists. That's Marx's theory. It's more complicated than that, whatever. But all underneath it all, right, that's what he thinks is going to happen. Now, to be clear here, right, for Marx, history is material. It is matter in motion. It's the production of stuff, like shirts and shoes and food. There's nothing magical going on here. Marx is an atheist. He doesn't think God is going to pop into history and like change anything. Or what Marx thinks happens here is religion sneaks in at some point. And it's actually very similar to Spinoza's idea. In fact, Marx really likes Spinoza as a way of controlling people. What do you think all those slaves in Mississippi got told? That's the film, right? You may be a slave here on earth, but if you be good and serve your master on earth, then you will go to heaven. That worked. Horrifyingly, it worked. Now think about what religion tells other common people. Kings are the kings because God made them. It's the way that it is. God made it, and you shouldn't buck against it. Now, who benefits from that? The kings, the powerful, the rich. The rich say, we're rich because God picked us to be rich. We're the intelligent. God picked us to be this way. Marx says, religion is not the result of God revealing God's self in history. Religion is the result of it being invented by the rich and the powerful to manipulate the people below them, to justify their world. Bet your ass that the people that wrote that book look a lot like me. And Marx says it's not surprising. Spinoza thinks religion is a way of social manipulation. Marx thinks it's not just social manipulation, it's social manipulation in the interest of very powerful people. Famous phrase. And religion is the opium of the masses. Who do you think is more likely to be religious? A rich person or a poor person? Educated people or uneducated? One of the things that religion does, maybe more than anything else, is it gives you a whole story. Here's where the world came from. Here's why you're here. Here's what's going to happen after. And if you're uneducated, that might be enough for you. Marx thinks that as production gets higher and higher and higher, as we get more and more production, if we spend less time working, making shirts, we can spend more time learning. We can also we can get new jobs. Back in the Middle Ages, they simply farmed in order to survive. In fact, most of their food went to the kings, and they got to keep what little they had, so they were simply getting by to survive. Now, if you have more money, and you have more time, and you have more leisure, you get more education. The idea here is, as production gets better and better and better, you have more and more control over your world. We go from being the passive, fearing agent of lightning, we now capture the lightning. We tell the lightning what to do. I can flip that switch and tell the lightning what to do. It's amazing. Now what Marx thinks is going to happen here, this is his theory. As production ramps up over history, education levels are going to go up, and poverty is going to go down. All that seems to have happened. And not just understand what it is, but harness it. And what do they think it used to be? God. Lightning, Zeus throwing the bolts down, or Thor, or whatever. Well, when we no longer need theory, the God theory, to tell us what electricity is, it begins to phase out. The idea here is, as we approach socialism, production hugely amped up in the interest of everybody, education will go up, poverty will go down, and religion will phase out. Because you just don't need to go to a church to figure out how to stop a plague. Marx says, guess what solves the plague? Penicillin. That the amount of what you need over time diminishes. But it hasn't evaporated yet. The idea here is, as this goes up, religion's going to go down. That's his theory. It's called the secularization theory. Why hasn't it gone away completely? So one thing is, right, the state allows you to believe it, but it should go away on its own. In Marx's philosophy, we are very close to this sort of apocalyptic transition. Everything is lined up. We have all the factories, we have the ability to make everything, we have the ability to make a perfect world, I guess. There just has to be a moment where the workers say, no, we're not making money for you anymore, we're going to make everything for us. They go on strike and take everything. We live at the cusp of that transition, but for Marx he says, we just haven't made that transition yet, and therefore people still need religion as a kind of crutch. This is what Marx is talking about. We're living in a situation where the ability to fix the world exists, but the political will to do it doesn't. And that's why he thinks religion sort of hangs on. We have anxiety. We have all kinds of things. Poverty, homelessness. If you live that close to the poverty line, Marx is going to say, of course you're going to believe in something more powerful than you to help you out. Right? You believe in whatever you need to do to get through. Marx says it's actually crutch to work on. And this is where we get to this famous phrase, religion is the opium of the masses, from the first reading that we took a look at. What does he mean by this? There's something clever happening here. Marx is a pretty clever guy, actually. It's a painkiller. You take it because you're in pain. Marx says we go to religion primarily because it makes us feel better. Think about the story of Christianity. The most hopeful story that I can imagine. That God so loved the world, gave his only begotten Son, that I should not die, but I should live forever. Amazing, powerful story. Who doesn't want to have a sense of community? We live in isolated lives. It can make you face the shit job, boss you hate, school you don't really want to be at, and religion's a painkiller. It's a way of avoiding the world, right? It's a way of coping with the world. Because why? Think about how Marx thinks about this in terms of religion. Religion gives us a feeling of one thing I think is probably one of the most important feelings we can feel. Feeling of being special. We are the chosen people. God picked us out of all random tribes in the Middle East. God picked us to be something. You let that go to your head for a minute, and you make you feel real special. And many people think, without religion, life means nothing. We're on a rock around the sun. It's all going to come to an end one day. It doesn't matter anymore. It's very bleak. But with religion, it makes us feel good. And I don't know about you, but that's addictive. That is to say, it can make us serve interests other than our own. I think Marx is worried here that part of what religion can do is it can take us out of the real world and put us in a completely fake world. It can put us in a world where we actually do things that compromise our values. And for Marx, the idea here is that you can go chase religion and you can chase the afterlife. Or Marx says, make this world better. That's Marx's idea. If we focus on religion, religion always tells us down the road, next life. Marx says you can grab a hold of power and you can make the world better. And the idea is, if we don't seize power, if the working class people don't seize power, then the aristocrats stay in power, they're going to fight. And you will end up in those trenches. You'll get to go to heaven that much faster. Marx says, if we don't seize power now, there will be a great world war. In the system, when we looked at this piece, right, I think he says, right, if man rotates around a sun that is not his own. Again, Marx has had this kind of flowery language for a political economist. If we let the preacher man and the imam and the rabbi do all the thinking for us, and they're in bed with these capitalists, keep us more or less, working in factories, we're looking out for their interests and not our interests. If we want to keep orbiting them, they're going to keep selling us down the river. But if we serve our own interests, we learn to orbit ourselves. Think about religion in general, is that religion is a kind of symptom of a disease. If you, for instance, try to get rid of religion, that's not going to work for Marx. Because religion is a symptom of a problem. And the symptom of the problem is a social problem. It's that there are haves and have-nots, and the have-nots live in bad conditions. They live in terrible conditions, and they use religion as an opium. They use religion as a way of solving their problem. We can't treat the symptom, we have to treat the illness. And the illness is, for him, of course, capitalism.